anybody will really come into this area because it's just a screen that we've turned off. So
that's
yeah.
fine. We're live. Let's just,
yep.
I'm just going to turn my branding off so we can see you properly.
Yep.
So yes.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. We are actually live. We've had a little bit of a technical hitch there with having to try. Why have we still got reverb? Have you got your phone on?
No, I'll turn it off and completely off and just make sure that that's not the problem.
Hi, everybody.
There we go.
We
Technical difficulties.
I think the reverberation might actually be an echo from...
Maybe. It's quite a big space that I'm in today, so there is quite an echo actually in here.
Okay.
So
let's get down to business then. I've turned the branding off. We're a bit like last minute. And the reason I'm last minute, so everybody that's watching, the reason I'm last minute is just as I was about to go live, I had guests turn up, which is what happens here at the Art Bank, is guests turn up at a time that suits them, not at a time that suits me. So that's why we're a bit late running out with this live, and things look a bit chaotic and we look like we're not organized, but we really are. So welcome. This is a bit of an impromptu live on my other channels. I'm sharing this through my Facebook personal page, through LinkedIn, through YouTube, and through X. So we're in several channels and we'll share it into the group because obviously we just couldn't manage to get that done today. And I'm here to talk to Nancy, and Nancy is one of my mastermind clients. And she's an amazing mixed media artist and photographer who has this awesome collection that she is about to exhibit in Edinburgh in a prominent gallery, and it's really exciting. So Nancy, introduce yourself properly, forget what I've said, and tell everybody where we're streaming from.
Right. So I'm Nancy Pinkerton, and I'm a mixed media artist. I mainly do photography work. I have a background in painting and drawing as well. But when I'm creating my photographs, it's not just the photograph that I create that's part of my artwork. Often the objects that are in the photograph are created by me. I tend to do things like still life photography and portraiture, and I use props, and I make some of the objects and the props that I use. But the series that is going, or the collection that's going to be in the exhibition next week, is all still life levitation photography. So it's a special technique where you have things that are floating, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of practice to create these images. And it's going to be shown in Agitate Gallery in Edinburgh, which is it's an artist-run photography hub in Edinburgh, which has been here a couple years, I think. So it's fairly new. It's a fairly new gallery, and it's in the West End, which is quite a nice space, a nice area of Edinburgh. So
it's exciting. So tell everybody, I mean, this is really, I know you've exhibited before in different ways, shapes and forms. This is kind of your first big exhibition of a body of work, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
How did it feel for you taking that step outside, your comfort zone, and go for this, like, because it's not cheap to do, is it? You do have to invest in yourself. So talk about that.
Yeah. So it's something I've wanted to do for a while, and I actually looked into it back in 2019, just before lockdown and things. But at that point, I don't think I would have known how to make the exhibition work really well for me. Not since now that I've been working with Mandy, I know how to kind of make it work for me and be able to sell my prints and my work. So I had it on my plan for this year to look for an exhibition, and the beginning of the year there were a few little hiccups and things and stuff that kind of held me back. And then one day I thought, I knew about this gallery here in Edinburgh, and I thought I'll come in, see what the space is like and just ask them about exhibiting. And I came in and I spoke to them, and it happened that they had just had a cancellation for an exhibition, 2-week exhibition in June, and they hadn't advertised it yet. And I looked at the space, and I just thought the space is really lovely. It's such a nice space. It's not too big. I thought it'd be a great. I could just, when I came in here, I thought I could see my work up here in this space. You know, and I went out and I spoke to my husband about it. He was with me, and he was like, "Just go for it, Nancy." You know, it's a lot of cost. You know, there's the cost of hiring the exhibition space, and the cost of I've added on a few things. Have like a window, because I have a window space where I can put some of my products in the window to sell, which would help bring people in. And also like getting prints done, framed. I'm launching the book, so I have to order that, and then promotional material, information sheets, all that costs money, but it's an investment, and it's worth it, you know, because it will give me more visibility, and it's a great time of year as well in Edinburgh to have an exhibition. And that's one of the reasons why I thought it was worthwhile jumping at that, because that time of year, it's starting to get busy with tourists and people coming in to Edinburgh, and the kind of whole run up to the Edinburgh Festival, and things. And because my work is something that would appeal to tourists who are coming to Scotland, I thought this was just the absolute best time of year. And I thought I could go and look at other galleries, you know, and compare prices and compare this and that. But actually, am I going to find something at that time of year? Am I going to find something that that I'm going to like as much, you know? And also, I thought it would tie in really nicely with my getting my title for my collection trademarked, which I knew would be getting trademarked around the end of May. So I thought it's a good time to launch that new title for my artwork as well. So.
And I think this is such an important point. And I really want to talk about this because there's so much fear. I think there's an illusion, first of all, for artists and creatives, is that, you know, some gallery is going to come along and knock on your door and say, "Hey, we love your work. We'd love you to come and exhibit with us. There's no price, no cost attached. We'll just take a commission." It doesn't work like that. These are businesses that are operating in order to serve other businesses. It's a business to business transaction, where they have a space they can sell. You need a space to sell your work. And actually, that's how most exhibitions work these days, is that, you know, you pay for the space, you exhibit your work, you make some money, you get your name out there. And I think there's an illusion that it doesn't work like that. And it actually does. And secondly, you know, when you've got, it's making the investment. You said that important word, and I talked about this earlier on a post today on my personal page. Making a well thought out decision to invest in your business, to say, this is the time I'm going to step beyond the comfort zone, and I'm going to invest in my business, and I'm going to get my name out there, because the connections you can make from doing one event are immeasurable, aren't they?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like I launched in November, but nobody really knows about my work. You know, a handful of people. I've got a few hundred followers in different places, but it's not really enough, and it's hard to get that kind of reach and that visibility. And having an exhibition like that does help me get reach, especially in the local area and local community. But as I said, expect that time of year, I'm going to get tourists as well coming, and I've also done some PR along with it. I've hired someone to help me with PR. And I actually had an interview yesterday with the national newspaper. So I had a great talk with them. It was really nice. Told them about the artwork, about the history behind it, and things, and it was quite positive. And she said she was going to have it in either this Sunday's, if she can, it'll be in this Sunday's paper. If not, it'll be the week after. So that's good. That's a win.
It's a huge win. It is. Getting into any sort of media like that is a huge win, and that's what happens when you step beyond your comfort zone and say, no, it's time for me to really invest. So talk about this amazing collection you've got. You've gone to the bother of trademarking your new name. You know, that's caused its own issues and problems, but you've done it anyway. And and it's something to be seen. I think for anyone listening, this is something to be seen because it's fantastic. So talk about your collection.
Okay, so it's called Scotland's Chequered Throne, and it's a series of 15 images, and each one tells a different story about one of the Scottish monarchs. So something that happened during their reign. And what I've done is I've set it on a chessboard with playing cards, and each playing card has the monarch on it. And then I've used objects and the chess pieces and arranged them in a particular way to tell the story that is attached to that. And I've got one of the images here that I can show you. We'll just get it out of it. So this is actually the first, if you can see it, this is the first one.
Yep.
I hold it up. Yeah. This is the first one in the series, and this is Alexander II, and he signed the Treaty of York with Henry III, and that helped define the Scottish-English border, and that border's remained mostly intact to this day, apart from a couple areas on either side of the, like on the kind of coast on either side. Tweed, and and the debatable lands that are not too far away from you, Mandy. So yeah. And so I thought that was a great place to start the series, because it's kind of when Scotland starts to become more what we know of Scotland today, and more of a kind of more defined in its land and what is actually Scotland. And then I went up to James VI of Scotland, who united the crowns of Scotland and England, and he became James I of England. So a lot of people know him as James I, but that's not correct in terms of Scotland, because there is another James I. It actually can be a little bit confusing sometimes. I've been on tours where people have gotten confused about dates and things because they mix up these two kings, and I think that's, you know, that kind of experience. That's part of why I wanted to make this series, was because, you know, I think it is really interesting, you know, the history, and there's so much to learn about it, and people don't always know about Scottish history. Sometimes English, like when you're looking at the kind of conflicts between Scotland and England, you know, when you're looking at it from an English perspective or an English lens, it's different than if you're looking at it from a Scottish perspective. So, and quite often the English perspective is presented more than the Scottish perspective. So it kind of means that some things about Scottish history get kind of lost and muddled because of that. So I thought, and it is so interesting and so varied, and that's why I use the word checkered, because it is so varied. There's so many layers to it, and it also fit with the images because of the chessboard, and I also display them in alternating black and white mounts and frames, so it looks like a chessboard when it's all on the wall together. So I thought that was a great name. That was actually, Mandy helped me come up with the word checkered, Mandy and your son.
So, yeah. we're quite good at coming up with names, and because you had it as Scottish Game of Thrones when you started, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which is brilliant, but obviously there was an issue with trademarking that, because when you've got a digital asset, an asset like this, because that's what it is, it's an asset for you, this set of 15 images that you've created that depicts the Scottish history, that look wonderful, but you don't want any issues down the line with people stealing the name or stealing the images. You've got to do the legal work, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I had that title. I thought it was a great title. I mean, it was it came to me with the inspiration to do the series. And so how I designed it all was all entwined with that title. So it was, but in the back of my head, it was always like, oh, is there going to be an issue with this title, and things, and it maybe held me back a little bit sharing it, probably because because of that. And it was a kind of a big thing to change it. It took me a while to get my head around the idea of changing it, because it was so intrinsic to how I designed it all. But even at that, I quickly started to think, well, actually it might be, there's other reasons why it might be good to change it as well, because, whenever I say that, I said it, everybody goes, oh, I like Game of Thrones, or I don't like Game of Thrones, and that there's that, and I'm like, well, it's not really about Game of Thrones, it's a similar subject in a way, but it's not really. And then I've also had somebody think that it was a game, so the title of, like, the cover of my book and on a picture, and thought it was a game, and I thought, well, no, maybe it's time. And once I came up with the title, I started to realize, actually, it's a better title for it, and I like it so much more. And I've had so many people say to me, who've known the old title, say to me, actually, I think this title is much better, and it fits much better. So I'm hoping that will help, with taking it all forward, having the new title. And I thought it was important to kind of trademark it and to protect it, and and as you say, protecting your images online. And I was always worried about, because my idea is something that is so unique. I've never seen anybody do anything like it, and at first it was like, I don't want to share it because I don't want people to steal the idea or to steal my images or that kind of thing. But I got to a point where I realized, if you don't share it, nobody's going to see it, nobody's going to know how wonderful it is. So you have to kind of take a risk, but there are ways that you can kind of protect yourself, like doing the trademark. You do have a copyright to those images. You can, it's really easy nowadays to search an image as well to see if somebody's used it somewhere else online, and just by, like, doing things like using low resolution images online, or using, like, a watermark, although sometimes there are debates over watermarks, whether they're worthwhile or not. But you just have to do the best that you can to protect your work, but if you don't put it out there,
nobody's going to buy.
No.
I remember our very first conversation, and that, I saw that you had this amazing thing, and there was so much reservation. And look at you now, you've taken risks. You've protected what you can protect and let everything else go. You've gone for a rebrand and a new name, which is scary in any business, but you've done it anyway. And you're about to sort of exhibit now in a gallery in Edinburgh, ready to go business to business and retail with your product, because your main customers are going to be hotels, big hotels that want to put a wall of Scottish history in their hotel, which is fantastic for visitors. We've been talking about this for a long time, so it's familiar. But for people that are sitting out there with something that they know is unique and good, and they just don't know what to do with it. It's about understanding all the routes that are open to you and the risks that the sensible risks to take and the things to do that you can protect it. I mean, gosh, copyright things and trademark them if you think you've got something that is unique. And in that process, you'll actually find out if you have got something that isn't unique. Won't you? It's a long process, which you did with the Scottish Game of Thrones.
And it was interesting when I did apply for that as a trademark, and it came back with this 62-page document. The first 2 pages were just them explaining the situation, and the rest of it was all the trademarks that Warner Brothers have for that name, and they had trademarked things like paintbrushes and art supplies, like, and you know, I mean, clearly they're not going to be using all those trademarks, but it's clear that they didn't want that at all, to be used. And they advised me to speak to the chartered attorneys, trademark attorneys. And they do, so if anyone is interested in trademarking, then this is a really good resource. They have a website, and they do a free, I think it's a free 20-minute call with a trademark attorney to give you some advice. It's like a sort of one-time only thing. But I wish I'd known about it before, but I didn't. But it was good, and they advised me. They said, you don't want to go up against someone like Warner Brothers. I had this option of just waiting to see if they object it or withdrawing it, and they advised me to withdraw it, because if they did go through, they most likely would have objected, and then they probably would have sent me a cease and desist, and then I would have had to stop using the name completely and stop trading till I got a new name. Whereas if I withdrew, I could just kind of continue until I got the new name and then transfer it over, which I'm still in the process of doing. There's still some places where it says Scottish Game of Thrones, but it's a work in progress. Hopefully it will all be changed over by next Friday. That's the plan. But yeah.
It's a process, isn't it? And I think, so what Nancy's now got is this fantastic asset of 15 unique images with a whole brand identity of their own. Scotland's Chequered Throne, with a book that actually comes. So you actually put it into a book where you get the images and you get the history, which is fantastic keepsake. And it's not just about that. You're going into this gallery with your standard size images and prints with available in lots of different variants. So people think, you've got 15 images, but you're selling them, either they can go as a subscription, you can buy 1 or 2 images, you can buy a canvas, you can buy a poster, you've got postcards, you've got multiple different ways of getting these images out, both retail and business to business. So you've taken this one thing, branded it up and gone. And I think it's been a lovely process to be a part of and to help steer you in. And this is like the epitome for you, isn't it? Actually opening the doors to the public and letting them see your baby. So how do you feel about that? Because it opens, the gallery exhibition opens on the 21st,
21st. So next Friday, and we're having an opening reception between 6 and 9, and so it's great to be able to do that, and it's something I've wanted to do for so long and have them shown and seen, and it's just it's right now I'm so like just trying to get all the finishing touches and everything done. There's so much to do, but it's just so so exciting. It occurred to me last night that I need to go out and buy a nice outfit to wear for the exhibition opening. So that's on my agenda for the weekend.
Well,
But
that's a nice treat for the weekend, I think. So if people are in Edinburgh or any of the surrounding areas, or even in Scotland, because nothing's too far, you can still get over to Edinburgh from Glasgow. I'm coming. Go and see Nancy's exhibition, because I think seeing it in real life brings the whole thing to life, doesn't it? Because you're sharing in the exhibition, you're not just sharing images, you're sharing the history. And this has come from, and you've got more in the pipeline, haven't you? We're looking at Scottish witch trials and lots of other things.
Yeah. So I have started a small series, or I've started a new collection about the Scottish witch trials, and I have 4 images that I've created for that achieved an honourable mention in the annual photography awards this year, and I'm going to have them on display as well, just to show where I'm going next. Just a small little collection of them, and they they I'm they're kind of like a bit of a follow-on from this series, because I'm focusing on the last king in the series, James VI, who became James I of England, and he was really responsible for sort of heightening of the witch trials in Scotland, and the kind of, you know, a driving force in them, really, because he believed that they were trying to kill him, that these witches were conversing with the devil and trying to kill him, and all that kind of thing. So I'm kind of showing that from that kind of angle of like how, one person's influence can, make, become this big thing that actually, went beyond his lifetime and went then kind of spread to other countries as well, with his, involvement in England and his involvement in like in settlement in America as well. So it's kind of, it's a big thing. So I'm still researching that, trying to find all the stories, stories that I can actually tell using objects. And I'm using smoke effects in this one as well, which is a little bit different than the levitation. So that's interesting, a new kind of technique to play with, and that.
Exciting times for you, really exciting. And it's been, I think all the ladies in the mastermind will agree with me, if any of them are watching on replay, that it's been wonderful watching this transition and journey, and it's nice to see it come into fruition in such a dramatic way, really. And I'm sure if you've been on the phone to newspapers, there's going to be more interest in this, because it's so unusual. The tends to stand out. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. So we're, fingers crossed, wishing you all the luck in the world, that you have loads of sales. You're at the gallery now. Yeah. Can you miss the camera around and let us have a look, or is the people about?
Yeah, there's no one in, so I can swing around. But before I do, I'll just say there's an exhibition on at the moment, and it's called Sustainable Darkroom. So there'll be some images and things on the wall. So I'll give you just a little kind of look at the kind of space. And there's a bookshop as well, which you'll kind of see in the distance.
Wow.
And then kind of come around. So just a quick little spin round. And
it's like every artist's dream to have their own exhibition. It really is.
Yeah.
You got there and you're doing it. It's such a big thing. And I don't ever want to negate that and say it's not. It's a big thing that you're doing, and you should be so proud of yourself and where you've come and overcoming all these hurdles. I hope that as many people as possible, if you're watching this and you think, wow, I know someone that would be interested in this, send them along to the Agitate Gallery in Edinburgh to go and have a look, because I think you've got to see them in real life to get the feel of how they've got the feels. They definitely give you the feels, these images. So put yourself along. So good luck, Nancy, and thank you so much for going to the gallery today and joining us live. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you very much, Mandy.
Thank you. Bye for now. But everybody,
Bye.
cheers.